The galaxy forsook this starship until a human mechanic turned it into a weapon. The stars were silent in this corner of the galaxy. A dark expanse stretched endlessly, broken only by distant pinpoints of light. In that emptiness floated a massive starship. Its hull was scarred with scratches and burn marks, and its once proud frame creaked softly as it drifted. The ship had been abandoned for decades, left to the quiet of space, forsaken by every advanced civilization that once relied on it. Most aliens avoided this ship. They called it the Forsaken. It had once been the pride of the Galactic fleet, a massive vessel equipped with the latest technology. Now, to them, it was nothing more than a relic, too old and too damaged to matter. Its engines were cold, the life support systems offline, and its AI was largely silent, like a machine that had forgotten its purpose. But humans, well, humans were different. Spare.
Humans saw possibilities where others saw failure. Eli was a human mechanic.
Small and wiry, with hands that had repaired everything from Starship engines to ancient satellites. He had a reputation for fixing what no one else could. He piloted his small shuttle toward the drifting giant, eyes wide with curiosity. Other mechanics might have seen a corpse of a ship and moved on. Eli felt excitement. "This is incredible," he whispered, scanning the hull. His shuttle sensors picked up the faint energy traces from dormant systems, like a heartbeat barely alive. Breath.
She's not dead. Not yet.
Ellie docked carefully, his shuttle clinging to the massive docking bay with magnetic clamps. The airlock hissed open, and he stepped inside. Darkness met him first, broken by flickering emergency lights. Dust hung in the air, moving lazily like tiny specters in the zero-gravity corridors. The ship smelled of oil, old metal, and a faint trace of ozone from the last active energy burst. Eli smiled. To him, this wasn't decay. It was potential. Every scratch on the hull, every flicker of light, told a story. The ship had fought, traveled, survived, and now it waited. He switched on his portable toolkit, a compact device filled with everything a mechanic could ever need. Holographic scans of the ship's systems floated above his wrist pad. Most alien engineers would have considered the system too old, too damaged. But Eli's eyes sparkled. He saw patterns, connections, opportunities. Hours passed. Eli crawled through the narrow maintenance tunnels, inspecting engines, wiring, life support conduits. Most systems were offline, some damaged beyond what any alien would attempt to repair. But Eli had a gift humans were famous for: creativity. He didn't just fix what was broken. He improved it, reimagined it. "This AI," he muttered, kneeling before a dormant core interface. "You're stubborn, but I like that." His fingers danced across the console, bypassing damaged circuits, rerouting power through auxiliary lines. Sparks flew, lights blinked, and slowly the AI came to life. A soft, artificial voice hummed. "System offline." Awaiting input.
Eli grinned. "Not anymore, friend."
Time to wake up. The AI shivered through the circuits like it had just remembered it existed. Data streams flowed faster, systems tested themselves, and status reports appeared on Eli's pad. Engines were cold but functional. Weapons systems were inactive but intact. Life support was offline, but it could be restored.
Hours turned into a full human day. Eli worked tirelessly, adjusting, repairing, improvising.
At one point, he leaned back against a wall, exhausted, but exhilarated. "They gave up on you," he said softly to the ship, "but I didn't. We're going to be something they never imagined." Eli's work wasn't just technical. It was almost personal. He spoke to the ship as he worked, naming systems, praising circuits that responded quickly, joking about wires that refused to cooperate. It might have sounded strange, but it wasn't unusual for humans. Humans had a way of connecting with machines that aliens never understood. By the end of the day, the ship's engines hummed faintly. Lights flickered to life in the command deck, and the AI began responding with more advanced protocols. Eli could feel the ship's dormant energy, like a creature stretching after a long sleep. But there were still challenges. The ship's main propulsion core was ancient and unpredictable. Its energy shields had not been tested in decades. And most importantly, the experimental energy systems, the real power the ship had once held, remained untouched. Ellie knew he was walking on the edge of the unknown. One wrong adjustment, and the ship could overload or shut down completely. Dispel. Still, he smiled. Humans weren't meant to follow manuals. Breaths. Humans were meant to explore, to take risks, to push limits.
That night, Eli set up a small camp in the ship's cargo bay.
The corridors were quiet, but not lifeless. Small indicator lights blinked, showing systems now online. The AI spoke occasionally, asking questions, reporting status updates, learning from Eli's methods. It was not just a ship anymore. It was a companion. Eli stared out at the stars through a cracked observation window. Somewhere far away, alien fleets drifted past, ignoring the forsaken ship. To them, it was dead. To Eli, it was alive. He felt the thrill of discovery, the spark of something no alien had dared to attempt. "I don't care what they say," he whispered.
You're going to fly again. You're going to show the galaxy what it means to be alive.
Bray. In the deep silence of space, the ship seemed to respond. Lights pulsed gently, almost like a heartbeat. Inspiration. Eli smiled, knowing he had begun something extraordinary. Brace. He had taken what the galaxy had abandoned and seen potential where others saw failure. The first step was simple: bring the ship back to life. The next steps, well, they would take human ingenuity, courage, and creativity. Things aliens rarely understood.
And Eli was ready. The Starship was no longer silent.
Breath. Its corridors glowed faintly with life, and soft hums of revived systems filled the empty spaces. Eli walked carefully through the command deck, scanning panels and screens, checking each system for stability. The AI, which had once been dormant for decades, now responded to his every command with an efficiency that seemed almost alive.
"You're doing well," Eli said, patting the console affectionately.
But we're only getting started. For the next several hours, Eli explored the ship's hidden potential. The more he worked, the more he realized the aliens had never truly understood its design. Its engines were advanced but temperamental, its shields flexible but complex, and deep within its core lay an experimental energy system unlike any other in the galaxy.
No one had ever activated it fully. Not because it couldn't be done, but because it required creativity and intuition, traits that aliens rarely relied on.
Eli smiled.
That was where humans had an advantage. He crouched beside the core, wires dangling, tools clutched in his hands. Holographic schematics floated above his wrist pad, showing a tangle of energy conduits, amplification nodes, and control circuits. The system had been dormant for decades, waiting for someone clever enough to awaken it.
"Let's see if we can wake you up properly," Eli said softly. The AI spoke, its tone curious. "Warning. Experimental system has never been activated fully. Risk of overload exists." "Human input required," Eli chuckled.
Overload is just a word. You're going to love me. He began rerouting energy through the amplification nodes, bypassing the old fail-safes the aliens had left behind. Sparks danced across the exposed circuits, but nothing exploded. Lights on the control panel flickered in rhythm, almost as if the ship itself was responding to his presence. Hours passed. Eli's movements were precise yet fluid, like a conductor orchestrating a symphony. The AI adapted to his methods, learning from each adjustment. For slowly, the core began to hum.
The ship trembled gently, a vibration that was more alive than mechanical.
"This is incredible," Eli whispered. "I've never seen anything like you." As the energy system awakened, the ship's sensors detected anomalies in the surrounding space. Bar clouds of cosmic dust, previously invisible, shimmered faintly under the new energy readings. Eli noticed patterns in the turbulence, small pockets of gravitational flux that could be dangerous if ignored.
But with the ship's revived systems, he could study them, analyze them, even control them to some degree. This ship,
"It's not just powerful," he muttered, eyes wide. "It's adaptable. It learns. It can do things no other starship can."
Eli spent the next day mapping the energy conduits, testing responses, and making minor adjustments.
He laughed to himself more than once, marveling at how alien engineers had overcomplicated things, and how a human's intuition could simplify and improve them. The ship's AI, now more like a partner than a machine, responded with subtle adjustments of its own, a silent acknowledgement of Eli's skill. By the second night aboard the Starship, Eli had a new routine. He slept in short bursts in the cargo bay while the ship ran diagnostics and minor repairs. He found himself wandering the decks in quiet moments, exploring rooms that had been abandoned for decades. Laboratories were still filled with old equipment, now powered faintly by restored energy lines. Maintenance tunnels, once dark and cold, were now warm and glowing. "This place is alive again," Eli said. "It's breathing." The real breakthrough came when he discovered a series of hidden conduits leading directly from the experimental energy core to the ship's propulsion system. No alien engineer had ever realized they could connect the energy core to the engines fully. Doing so would allow the ship to manipulate thrust and shields in ways that seemed impossible.
Eli grinned.
"This is it," he said, tracing the lines with his fingers. "This is what makes you special. Or ship.
You're not just a starship, you're something more."
He began carefully rerouting the conduits, testing each connection. Sparks danced, lights blinked, and the hum of the ship grew stronger, almost musical. Every adjustment made the ship respond more fluidly, more powerfully. It was no longer just alive, it was awakening.
By the third day, Eli had restored nearly all the ship's core systems. Its sensors could scan vast distances, its shields could adjust in real time, and the engines thrummed with energy, ready to respond to human input.
But the experimental energy system, the true heart of the ship, remained untested. Eli stood before the main console, taking a deep breath. "Okay," he said to the AI. "Time to see what you can really do." He activated the system, blazed. Energy conduits glowed, and the entire ship vibrated with raw power. A wave of force swept through the corridors, making every panel hum.
The AI spoke, almost in awe. Energy core activated, power levels exceeding normal parameters.
Human input required for control.
Ellie smiled. "Exactly as I thought."
"You're amazing."
He began experimenting, redirecting energy to different systems, engines, shields, sensors, even life support.
The ship responded perfectly, adjusting in real time. He felt the thrill of discovery coursing through him. This was no longer a simple repair job. He was unlocking potential that had been ignored for decades. And then he found something extraordinary. By redirecting a small portion of energy through the experimental system, he could create temporary gravitational fields around the ship. Small at first, just enough to influence the trajectory of objects in space.
The implications were staggering. With careful control, the ship could manipulate the environment around it in ways no alien vessel could. Eli leaned back, stunned.
They never understood what you were capable of. But I do. The AI responded quietly, almost reverently.
Human creativity exceeds all expectations. Potential identified. Extreme adaptability.
Eli laughed. Finally, someone gets it. He spent the next few days refining control, running simulations, and perfecting the integration of the energy system with the ship's other functions. Every adjustment increased stability, power, and responsiveness. The ship was no longer a forgotten relic. It was evolving, guided by human ingenuity. Word from distant sectors occasionally reached the ship via long-range communication.
Aliens reported strange energy readings near this abandoned vessel, but none dared approach. They assumed it was dangerous or unstable. Eli knew better.
Breaking. The ship wasn't dangerous. It was brilliant, alive in a way no one else could imagine. On the fourth day, Eli activated a full diagnostic. Every system performed perfectly. Engines hummed. Shields responded to simulated impacts. Sensors scanned with precision, and the energy core pulsed like a living heart. The AI, fully integrated with Eli's work, offered suggestions that enhanced efficiency, almost as if it were learning from him as much as he learned from it. Eli walked through the command deck, hands trailing along consoles and panels. But, "You're ready," he said softly. "Not just to fly again, but to show the galaxy what humans can do." The ship vibrated in response, a low, almost satisfied hum. It was no longer abandoned, no longer forsaken. Together, human and machine had revived something that aliens had given up on. A starship capable of feats no one else could imagine. Eli gazed out the observation window at the swirling stars. The galaxy beyond was vast, full of civilizations that thought humans were weak, reckless, and primitive. They didn't know that humans thrived where others feared to tread, that ingenuity and courage could overcome what raw technology alone could not.
"This is just the beginning," he said. "Wait until they see what we can do." And somewhere deep within the ship, the experimental energy core pulsed brighter, as if agreeing.
The Forsaken was no longer lost. It was alive, evolving, and ready to reveal its power, guided by a human who saw potential where others saw failure. The galaxy might have forsaken the Starship, but it had not forsaken humans. And Eli intended to prove it. By the time Eli had fully awakened the Starship's core systems, the Forsaken was no longer merely a derelict vessel. It had become something far greater, a living, adaptable machine tuned to a human mind. But theory and practice were different.
It was time for a real test.
Reports reached Eli through distant sensors. A colony planet in a neighboring sector was threatened by a massive gravitational storm. The storm was unusual, a swirl of energy and debris that even advanced alien ships could not predict or navigate safely. Entire fleets hesitated, unable to find a solution. Most civilizations considered abandoning the planet. Eli leaned back in the pilot's seat, hands clasped behind his head. "Interesting," he murmured. "The galaxy thinks they've solved everything, but they haven't tried what humans can do." The AI spoke from the console, its voice calm and measured. "Warning, the storm's energy readings are extreme. Approach may be dangerous." Inspiration.
Uncertainty is high. Eli grinned.
Uncertainty is the fun part. He plotted a course, careful but unconventional. Unlike alien pilots who relied solely on rigid protocols, Eli embraced improvisation. He calculated trajectories that used the storm's own gravitational waves, creating paths that minimized risk while maximizing efficiency. He spoke softly to the ship as he worked. "You ready for this?" he asked.
I need you sharp. The ship responded with a low hum, as if acknowledging the challenge.
Its energy core pulsed, engines prepared, shields flexed. Every system was ready to adapt in real time, a direct reflection of Eli's human ingenuity. As the Forsaken approached the storm, the sensors lit up with warnings. Massive energy fluctuations rippled through the gravitational field. Rocks, ice, and dust swirled unpredictably, threatening to tear apart anything that came too close. Alien ships had been destroyed in similar storms because they tried to fight the natural forces rather than work with them. Eli took a deep breath. "Not us," he said. "We work with it." He activated the experimental energy system, redirecting power to the ship's hull and shields. A faint glow surrounded the vessel, bending the gravitational forces slightly, allowing it to pass through the denser pockets of the storm safely. The ship responded immediately, shifting its energy fields, adjusting engines, and guiding Eli as if it were alive. "Smooth," he whispered, fingers dancing across the controls. "Good job." The storm was unpredictable. Twisters of debris and energy shot toward the ship at random angles. Every decision had to be made instantly. Eli relied not on manual calculations alone, but on instinct, intuition, and his growing bond with the Forsaken. He anticipated the ship's responses, and the ship adapted in real time. Hours passed. The storm pressed closer, a wall of chaos. But Eli's human ingenuity was unrelenting. Using the energy core, he created temporary gravitational pockets, diverting debris and smoothing turbulence. The ship moved like a living creature, responding to his commands faster than any alien vessel could. From afar, alien officials monitored the operation, skeptical and anxious.
They had dismissed the Forsaken as a relic, a dangerous experiment.
Now, they watched in awe as it navigated the storm flawlessly. Sensors that previously could not detect small anomalies now mapped the entire storm in real time, and energy fields generated by the ship kept it stable. Eli felt a surge of pride, but also humility. This was not a solo effort. The ship, the AI, and his human intuition worked together in perfect harmony. Together, they were rewriting what was possible. As they neared the storm's core, energy readings spiked.
The gravitational forces were stronger than expected, threatening to overwhelm even the Forsaken's experimental systems.
Pound. Eli's heart pounded.
One mistake could mean disaster.
"Stay calm," he whispered to the ship. "We can do this." He redirected more power to the shields, increasing their flexibility and strength. The ship responded instantly, bending under pressure, absorbing energy, and stabilizing itself against forces that would have crushed alien vessels. Eli's hands moved with precision, rerouting conduits, adjusting shields, and redirecting thrust. Minutes felt like hours. The storm's energy was immense, chaotic, and unpredictable. But the Forsaken, guided by human creativity, adapted. It flowed through the storm, turning what seemed like a trap into a navigable path. Finally, they emerged into calmer space on the other side. The storm's fury diminished behind them, leaving the colony planet safe. Eli exhaled, leaning back in the pilot's seat, sweat on his brow. "We did it," he said softly. The AI's voice, usually calm and precise, carried something new: admiration.
Human ingenuity has proven successful. Outcome exceeds expectations.
Eli laughed quietly. "Told you. Never underestimate humans." Back at the colony, the citizens watched the storm dissipate with relief. Alien fleets had prepared to evacuate them. but they were no longer needed. The Forsaken had solved what others thought impossible. The humans who had been ignored, underestimated, and dismissed had saved lives through creativity, courage, and adaptability. Word spread quickly. Across the galaxy, intelligence networks buzzed with reports of the Forsaken's success. Aliens who had once mocked humans now whispered in disbelief. They had underestimated a species that relied not on brute force alone, but on ingenuity, adaptability, and problem-solving. Eli returned to the command deck, leaning against the console. "You see," he said to the ship, "this is what humans do. We see problems, we take risks, and we find solutions no one else can imagine." The AI's response was almost philosophical. "Human resourcefulness surpasses all known parameters. Potential identified. Exceptional." Ellie grinned. "Exactly. And we're just getting started." The test had proven more than the ship's capabilities. It had proven the human advantage. While aliens relied on fixed rules and rigid protocols, humans embraced uncertainty, creativity, and intuition. The Forsaken had become a symbol of that advantage, a living testament to what humans could achieve when they refused to give up. As the ship drifted above the colony planet, Eli activated the observation decks, watching the inhabitants go about their lives, safe from the storm. He felt a deep satisfaction, not just in his success, but in the affirmation that humans could matter in ways the galaxy had not anticipated. And somewhere deep within the ship, the experimental energy core pulsed brighter, almost like a heartbeat of approval. The Forsaken was not just alive, it was evolving. And under human guidance, it would become something even the galaxy could not ignore. Eli sat back, hands behind his head, smiling. The test was over, but the journey had just begun. The Forsaken was no longer abandoned, no longer forsaken. Together, human and machine had rewritten the rules of possibility. The galaxy might have ignored them before, but now it had seen a glimpse of what humans could do, and the humans, with ingenuity, courage, and unyielding determination, were ready to show the universe their true potential. The galaxy was watching. Word of the Forsaken's success had spread like fire through the interstellar networks. Aliens who had once dismissed the human race as weak or reckless were now whispering, questioning their assumptions, and sending fleets to observe.
Eli sat in the command deck, hands resting on the edge of the console.
The Forsaken hummed around him, alive with energy. Every system pulsed in rhythm with the experimental core glowing softly, as if aware that something larger was about to happen. "They're coming to see us," Eli said quietly to the ship. "Curious aliens, fleets from systems who never cared before. But, let's show them what humans can do." The first fleet arrived days later, a dozen alien warships from a technologically advanced civilization. Their ships were sleek, efficient, and heavily armed. To them, the Forsaken was an anomaly, a curiosity at best, a relic at worst. No one had warned them about the experimental energy system or the human ingenuity controlling it. Eli watched their movements on the holographic display.
They don't understand, he murmured. They think they're testing me.
But really, they're about to learn. The aliens attempted to scan the Forsaken, trying to measure its power, but the ship's systems adapted instantly. Energy pulses shifted, shields fluctuated, and the experimental core absorbed and redirected signals. Eli had programmed it to be unpredictable in ways only a human mind could anticipate. The alien fleets couldn't make sense of the readings. "This is what humans do," Eli said with a grin. "We think in ways you can't even calculate." He engaged the engines, moving the Forsaken gracefully through the fleet. Unlike alien ships which relied on pre-programmed maneuvers, the Forsaken flowed like water, adapting to every shift in position, every energy pulse, every sensor ping. It was beautiful, elegant, and utterly unstoppable. The alien commanders exchanged frantic messages, trying to understand how a single ship could evade their coordinated formations. Some even suggested retreat, but pride prevented them from admitting what humans had already proven. Ingenuity was stronger than brute technology. Eli tapped a few commands on the console, redirecting energy from the core to the propulsion systems, amplifying the ship's speed without straining the engines. The Forsaken moved faster, sharper, more precise.
Energy shields flexed in response to every attempt to scan or target them. Aliens who relied on rigid protocols found themselves confused, unable to predict the ship's next move.
The AI spoke in a voice almost proud, almost human.
Human creativity and adaptation exceed expectations.
Enemy response is insufficient. Ellie laughed softly.
Exactly.
Breath, and they're learning too late.
But the demonstration wasn't about destruction. Eli wanted them to understand, not fear.
With careful manipulation of the energy core, he projected patterns of light and energy around the Forsaken. The display was spectacular. Pulsing waves, shifting shields, and bursts of energy that danced like auroras in space. The alien fleets had never seen anything like it. They realized this ship was more than a weapon. It was a symbol. This is impossible. One alien commander whispered to another. No ship should move like that. No system should respond so unpredictably.
Eli smiled. Humans make the impossible happen.
Breast. Every day. Then a message came from the colony that the Forsaken had saved earlier. A new storm was forming in a distant sector, this one threatening multiple planets. Alien fleets hesitated again, uncertain of the risks. Eli stood, ready.
We're going to show them again, he said. Humans don't just wait.
We act. The Forsaken powered up, the experimental core glowing brighter than ever. Eli used the ship's systems to analyze the storm, mapping its patterns in real time.
While alien fleets relied on preset calculations, Eli improvised. He created temporary energy fields that guided the storm's movement, diverting dangerous currents and stabilizing the planet's orbits. The ships that had followed him into the sector watched in awe. The humans were not only surviving, they were controlling chaos. They were not only inventing, they were improving reality itself. Hours passed, but the humans and the Forsaken never faltered. Each move was precise, adaptive, and creative.
By the time the storm dissipated, every planet in the sector was safe.
Alien fleets were speechless, the colony world celebrated, and Eli leaned back in the pilot's seat, exhausted but triumphant.
The AI spoke, its tone reverent. Human ingenuity has saved multiple civilizations.
Potential of species. Extraordinary.
Eli smiled.
And it's only the beginning. They'll remember this.
The galaxy will remember humans.
Word of the Forsaken's heroics spread rapidly.
Rations. Entire civilizations began rethinking their assumptions about humans. The species, once considered reckless and primitive, was now recognized as adaptable, inventive, and courageous. Across star systems, humans gained new respect. No longer outsiders. No longer underestimated. Eli knew this was more than a personal victory. It was a statement about humanity. Humans didn't just survive. They solved problems others considered impossible.
They didn't just follow rules. They redefined them.
And in doing so, they proved that ingenuity, creativity, and courage could rival technology itself.
The Forsaken had been abandoned, forgotten, and forsaken.
But under human guidance, it had become a symbol of potential hope and brilliance. Eli walked through the command deck, patting consoles and panels as if thanking old friends. "You see," he said softly, "even when the galaxy forsakes you."
Humans never give up. We find a way.
In the following weeks, fleets from every corner of the galaxy sought audience with Eli. He demonstrated new technologies, improved systems, and shared insights about human problem solving.
Aliens marveled at the creativity, the improvisation, the ability to adapt in real time. They had weapons and shields, but humans had something they could not calculate: intuition. The Forsaken became a flagship of human potential, not a weapon of destruction but a symbol of ingenuity. It inspired humans and aliens alike, proving that intelligence, creativity, and courage were the true measures of strength. Eli returned to the observation deck one last time, looking at the stars. He thought of every ship, every planet, every alien that had doubted humanity. He smiled. "The galaxy may forget us sometimes," he said to himself. "But humans, we never forget potential."
And we never stop creating. Somewhere deep inside the Forsaken, the experimental energy core pulsed rhythmically, as if echoing his sentiment.
Together, human and ship had rewritten the rules of possibility. Together, they had shown the galaxy the true meaning of HFY. Humanity. Yeah. And Eli knew this was only the beginning. There were more ships to repair, more challenges to face, and more impossibilities to conquer. The galaxy would never underestimate humans again. The Forsaken had been forsaken, but now it stood as proof. When humans see potential, when they combine ingenuity with courage, nothing is impossible. And the stars themselves seemed to shine a little brighter, acknowledging a species that refused to be ignored. The galaxy had witnessed the rise of humans, not as conquerors, but as creators, innovators, and problem solvers. And with the Forsaken at their side, humans were ready to face whatever the universe had in store. Eli leaned back, a faint smile on his face, and whispered, "We did it."
"We really did it," the ship hummed in reply, alive, evolving, and ready for the next adventure.
The galaxy might have forsaken the Forsaken, but it had underestimated humanity. And humans never made that mistake twice.